All right, so Sadie, you confirmed that FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino is considering leaving the agency after clashing with Attorney General Pam Bondi. It was over her decision to not release additional material about the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. And it's despite Bongino previously amplifying conspiracy theories about deep state bureaucrats covering up Epstein's crimes. But can you explain what's driving this rift at the DOJ and Bondi's about face over releasing new Epstein documents?
Well, Bongino and FBI Director Kash Patel feel like Bondi mishandled this entire thing from the start by overpromising and under-delivering, by intimating that she had the so-called client list on her desk and then backtracking on that. And then sort of, they're also upset because throughout this process, she sort of put the blame on the FBI and like forced the FBI to go back into its holdings and see what else it had. And so she directed Patel to put, hundreds of agents on this, pulled them off from other duties to pore over these files, only to have it be that they weren't going to release any more information anyway. And so they think that she has mishandled it from the start. She is upset because she is accusing them of leaking negative stories to conservative media. And so it's really an incredible situation because on the one hand, you have Bongino, who has basically all of Trump's base as his support, and Bondi does not have that support. But at the same time, you also have Trump's support for Bondi. So it's anybody's guess what's going to happen next.
Yeah, and then you have hundreds of people who are deployed to look into this, digging. And my question, Peter, to you is, and it's one that has been suggested, is there something that is being hidden? Is there any way of knowing what would be in these Epstein files? Look, we play the video that is out there, and the president has admitted in the past knowing and being friendly with Jeffrey Epstein. So you have all sorts of conspiracy folks saying, well, maybe there's something about the president to hide. We're not implying that, but is there something in there that someone doesn't want to get out?
Well, this is one of these fascinating conspiracy theories that has adherents on the right and on the left, right? The ones on the right think there's some sort of a conspiracy among the Clintons and the Biden administration for hiding it and all that kind of thing. And then on the left, you're right, there are people saying, aha, it's Trump who's holding back. There must be something there. This is what happens when conspiracy theorists suddenly go into government, right? It's a whole lot easier to be on a podcast, talking about various theories that may or may not be based on any kind of facts, and stirring people up, and then actually going into government where you have the responsibility to uphold laws and to actually deal with facts and information as it exists, rather than as you might imagine that it exists, right? But what's fascinating about this fight too is not just this is the conspiracy theorists playing with fire and getting burned. What's also fascinating is the internal dynamics of this. In the first Trump term, what you had were relatively conventional Republicans, conventional conservatives fighting with the more MAGA conservatives. Here, it's MAGA versus MAGA, right? There are no real conventional Republicans left, or very few anyway, in government under this Trump term. And instead, you have the Kash Patel, Dan Bongino part of the MAGA world, and the Pam Bondi part of the MAGA world. Right now, she doesn't seem to have the support, as Sadie just said, of the hardcore Trump base. But she comes from that same part of the party. And to see them fighting tells you how different this administration is compared to the previous term.
Yeah. And Sadie, we're going to add some names here because you've reported on the right-wing influencers, a who's who list, essentially. That includes Megyn Kelly, Laura Loomer, Glenn Beck, Candace Owens. That's just a few of them. They're accusing the administration of a cover-up. And then take a listen to what Steve Bannon had to say about the Epstein case this week.
They have to go and demand, they have to go to the court and demand and unseal the sealed evidence in Epstein. It starts there. Then bundle everything together you got, sealed and unsealed, and release it all. Or, which I've called for yesterday, appoint a special he should appoint a special prosecutor, special counsel now for the 2020 election and everything after that, and include Russiagate and all this.
So here you have, to Peter's point earlier, you've got both sides here. The same figures who once accused deep state bureaucrats in previous administrations of hiding the Epstein files, they are now implicating Trump officials in a cover-up. What are they saying about the administration shutting down the case, and explain why Epstein is so important to the conspiracy-leaning far right?
Well, this is a conspiracy that has loomed large for years.
This is fractured. And there are a couple other examples in recent weeks where he has faced similar troubles managing his far-right coalition, the Iran strike being the most obvious one, right? He found on the MAGA side of things, they didn't want him to be using military force against Iran, whereas a lot of other real hardcore Republicans, hardcore Trump supporters did. And he found that complicated in trying to manage as well. So he doesn't want to be talking about this. He wants to talk about almost anything else. He's throwing out all kinds of things this morning on social media to try to change the subject because, in fact, it is hard for him to go to his playbook. Playbook in any circumstance where he is under fire is to find Democrats or rhino, quote, quote, Republicans to blame. And there are no Democrats or rhino Republicans in this fight. It's only MAGA versus MAGA.
Are you hearing anything, Sadie, are you hearing anything about Pam Bondi's thinking in all this?
Well, she I think feels like she is being she was sort of set up to fail, because there was so much expectation that this administration would deliver on these files in particular, and she's just been a vocal supporter of Trump and Trump's a megaphone on Fox News throughout this entire administration, and so to have this kind of blowback, I think she finds it very disappointing.
So, folks, we need to really understand that the highest echelons of law enforcement are fighting the Trump narrative right now. The reason you're hearing all of this stuff from Dan Bongino and other officials saying they're either going to quit or they have quit or they will if or unless somebody else isn't fired or resigns, or if a document is, the list isn't released or out, and who knows whether they'll follow through with these threats or ultimatums. But let's be clear, this is the highest echelon of law enforcement really coming out against Trump. And his movement is backing the law enforcement and not him. You saw, we covered a little bit earlier today, you saw Laura Ingraham, the primetime Fox host, big supporter of Trump. Right? Big, like, she's not a quote unquote moderate Republican. And she's took the stage at a conservative event and basically got the crowd to cheer against Trump, saying, are you satisfied with what the Trump administration has told you about Epstein? And the crowd basically booed Donald Trump. And it gets so much worse here, guys. What the cops dropped tonight is spine chilling if you're Donald.
Seeing that now. The problem is what they've done is so outside the norm for DOJ and for the FBI to make these kind of statements, to start talking about. And you remember when they came out of a meeting and they're waving around a notebook that talks about the Epstein files as if somehow this is a big, they've got it here, and Pam Bondi says it's on my desk, and now none of that's backed up. And so you've got people like Bongino saying, and I'm not a champion for him, I'm simply saying he's looking at it thinking, well, I had a job before. I was probably making decent money. I may not have those same listeners come back to me now because it's clear that, somebody's not telling the truth somewhere, and I'm going to be the one who they're saying is not telling the truth. And so it's a problem, but but Andy's right. I mean, it's a problem for the morale inside the organization.
Especially for those, career public servants.
Well, I mean, look at who's been appointed to lead them.
Right.
I mean, that was sort of a circus through the confirmation process anyway. So they sort of have dealt with that, and now it's all coming back to roost, and we're seeing that these bad choices for leadership are playing out in how the FBI and the DOJ function on a day-to-day basis together.
All right, Michael Moore, we're going to have you back, talk about something else, but maybe lesson learned here is sometimes everything doesn't need to be public, especially preemptive to, when all the stuff is there.
Don't campaign on conspiracies. Right. That's really the...
Oh, there you go. That too. The deputy director of the FBI deciding whether he will leave his post. Dan Bongino did not show up for work on Friday, according to multiple sources. Those sources telling CNN that he has told people that he is considering stepping down amid a major clash between the FBI and the Justice Department over the Jeffrey Epstein case. And that he reportedly had a heated confrontation with the U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi about her handling of the Epstein case. It all started Monday. That's when the agency denied the government was keeping files about Epstein's so-called client list secret. The DOJ also claiming that there's no evidence that Epstein was murdered while behind bars. Two conspiracy theories that much of Trump's base had obsessed about and Bongino himself had pushed.
The questions surrounding this alleged suicide are numerous.
Yeah.
And are worth entertaining and worth getting to the bottom of quickly.
What the hell are they hiding with Jeffrey Epstein? Why do they want to make this Jeffrey Epstein story go away so bad?
I'm not ever going to let this story go because of what I heard from a source about Bill Clinton on a plane with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not letting it go ever. Ever.
And Bongino's boss, FBI Director Kash Patel, has also accused the DOJ of concealing crucial details about this case.
Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are. We have an election coming up, and we need to adjudicate this matter at the polls.
That was before he became FBI director. And then, adding to the suspicion, the DOJ released surveillance video from outside Epstein's jail cell on the day that he died. At one point, that video jumps forward, cutting out 60 seconds. Bondi is claiming that it was an outdated recording system. But that explanation, as well as the Justice Department claiming there's nothing else to release, is now angering many in the MAGA world who won't take no for an answer. Here are just two of the biggest names.
Like, they're not fooling anybody. So I feel like we're at a dangerous point now.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, we were promised one thing, and we have not received that promise. So I hope that President Trump will fix this by firing Pam Bondi.
And as we know, far-right activist Laura Loomer has a direct line to Trump, and she is not letting up on this call for Bondi to be fired. She tweeted Friday, President Trump, please listen to your base. We love you, and we are respectfully asking you to fire Pam Bondi. Well, the knives are clearly out for Bondi, who back in February was suggesting this alleged list of Epstein's powerful friends that had ties to his sordid activities would be released.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump.
All right, Bondi has since backtracked, and that's not...
The cops and the FBI are cops, right? And so who is the second top cop in the country in some way? I mean, the director is Kash Patel, but the deputy is Dan Bongino, right? And he's been a very, very close ally of Trump for many years. There were times where he would attack Fox. He was one of these guys that would attack Fox News in like 2021, in Trump's 4 years out of office, saying, Fox, why are you silencing Trump? Why are you censoring Trump? Why are you not letting Trump, on the air as much as he wants to spread his BS from our perspective? But from his perspective, it was to inspire the MAGA base. And so this guy was Trumpier than the average Trumper for many years. So this guy is he's very loyal to Donald Trump. Like, say what you will about the guy, he is a Trump person, because when it was a lot of people were turning away from Trump when he was at his lowest, Dan wasn't one of those people. He wasn't. And look at him now saying, I'm going to quit on you, Donald, as the second top cop of the federal government, basically, if you don't tell the truth. And what we know is, among other things, the video data that was released was edited when we were told it wasn't. That info, that's scary for Donald.